Hey, 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 and welcome to Terry Messenger's Genius Zone. And, this is the place in the space where you are going to get your own free masterclass absolutely free. Hey, hey, and welcome to this week's show. And because I've got so much to share, I thought I would feature myself this week. So rather than launching someone else's legacy, which, to be perfectly honest with you, is my favorite thing to do, I thought I would jump on in and just catch you all up on where I am. So, firstly, am I at home? Well, actually, no. I am at my mum's beautiful place. And I've actually been staying with her for a couple of nights. It's one of those elements where I love to change up my environment, but I am going through a little bit of a transition at the moment in my life. And as there's so much change evolving and happening, I'm just requiring that little bit of space. And, speaking of space, I want to speak on that because what is space anyway? Space is obviously where it's expansive, okay? So if a person doesn't have space, it's quite constrictive. And one of the things that I have really learned to do over the years since becoming a master NLP trainer, transformation queen, success activator, and of course, an accredited clinical hypnotherapist is to understand that the body never lies. So, we could be really in a state of fear, or we could be in a state of where we're holding back from being our best self. And this is really the monkey mind. This is really about what we are telling ourselves, the story that we are saying about our life. And that creates so much of our action versus reaction. So, firstly, are you finding that you are acting in your life, or are you reacting? Now, really, it's really a case of being, isn't it? However, spaciousness is where our body can tell us that it feels good, it feels peaceful, it's expanded. And when it really starts to tighten and constrict, that's when we have to ask ourselves, what is it that I need to learn? But this is an incredible gift that we have, because a lot of people may think it as a terminal emotional disease where we can't get out of this gripping feeling of sadness, helplessness, or whatever that may be. When in fact, I'd like to turn that around and propose that when you are feeling any of those feelings that are just not aligned with, peace, happiness, and joy, if you're feeling constricted, if you're feeling a sense of sadness, hopelessness, or whatever that is, then you have to ask yourself the question, what is stopping and blocking you? Now, 9 times out of 10, this comes back to the story that you are playing in your mind that you don't even know that you're playing, because our subconscious mind tends to be in autopilot and it tends to play out those memories of what it has indoctrinated into our belief systems, into our way of thinking, feeling, and being. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, when we can create a new reality, that's when we can change our personality. Now, you might be thinking, well, Terri, why would I want to change my personality? I'm just fine the way that I am. Well, that is very good. And, that is great if you are very happy with the way that you are activating in your life. But what happens if you're not activating? What happens if you are pulling back, self sabotaging, perhaps finding yourself on that treadmill where you're not going anywhere and you're not getting to your final destination that you really know that you want to get? Well, firstly, is there a final destination? I really feel that the final destination is when we leave our body and we expand into the spiritual realm of eternity. I believe that is the only time. So, the way that I look at it is that I will always be evolving and growing and evolving and growing. And when I am feeling that things are stuck, or if I'm not moving forward and I'm not showing up, then I know that there is an energy block. And this is where I can quite easily, as a coach, say to myself, well, what is it in my life I need to change? What is the story that I am telling myself? And, if I had have known how to, have these kinds of resources, it could have really saved a lot of years in my younger self when, I was doing depression, when I was feeling the hopelessness. And, I know there's no regrets in life. There is absolutely no regrets. You've got to look at everything that happens in your life as a part of your creative destiny. However, when you can listen to your body and instead of feeling like this is doom and gloom, I'm stuck, I'm not moving forward, what you can do is you can turn it around. You can turn it around by asking yourself a few simple questions. And, this is where I want to share with you what is happening in my world at the moment, because you guys would know, if you know me well, you would know that I'm a master trainer of NLP. I'm a stage presenter of NLP. I've been certifying and transforming lives through neuro-linguistic programming for now 16 years. So, I found my accreditation in hypnotherapy, and that was great because there's something about clinical hypnosis that brings a credibility because of its title, because it is more readily known in our medical profession and in our world, where people don't know about NLP. But, from where I'm standing, if I had to give one of those up, it would not be NLP. Let me just put it to you that way. NLP is the field that has changed thousands and thousands of people's lives just in my world. It has, really created a situation where it's taken people. And of course, because of the nature of my work, most of the people that ever did come and see me came because they were stuck in their life. They had an addiction. They had trauma that was weighing them down. But something, as you would know, if you come into the online space, or if you're choosing to, perhaps look for a mentor or look for a product, it is a certain specific niche. So on our side of the fence, if you are a coach, healer, leader, or you are an entrepreneur in the online space, you know that being a specialist and having a specific field and niche is going to help you to get found by your clients a lot easier. And for me, that was a bit of a pet hate because I knew I was helping so many different people, so many different walks of life. Why do I suddenly have to bring myself into this, way of thinking where I've got to now choose the people that I'm going to work with? And that actually frustrated me. but I didn't understand. And this is what I want to really pass on to you, especially if you happen to be an aspiring coach or you're in that industry where you know you need to really master your niche. But you know what? My avatar is actually myself. It is myself perhaps 5 steps ago. So it doesn't have to be myself 15, 16 years ago. It can even be me 3 weeks ago. So if you happen to be really stewing over who is my avatar, think about what you have conquered. This is where, the glory of being an intuitive therapist helps us to know that while we're looking so much outside of ourselves to find the right answers and to find the revelations, let me promise you, the answers come when you ground into yourself and you let go. Every single thing that I know has been a landmark in my life for the greater good, every opportunity that has ever come my way has happened when I wasn't hustling for it, has happened when I may have put it out there and then I just let it go. And this is including the desire to be held in a relevant way, to feel important, to feel significant on this earth. And I always wondered why I felt that emptiness, that ability, like I was searching, right? So I know that my avatars, they may not still be in that searching realm, or they may have found what it is that they want to do and their purpose in this world. But the fact is that every single person that I work with, I find that when they come into knowing that their story is their glory, their critical trauma is the element of their experience, or whether that was trauma it doesn't have to be like war veteran type trauma. It doesn't have to be, the critical trauma that we think about. It can even be trauma of where we may not be able to activate our voice, or we may not be able to show up, or we may not feel confident. That may be due to a trauma situation where at some point in your life, you were told something, you experienced something, and this is the automatic unconscious element that tends to come along and just remind us. But when we stop, when we can learn that this is a gift, this is part of the gift of your life and, your legacy. So, as I speak about legacy, I want to tell you that one of the most exciting things, and I would love for you guys to now go and visit this particular site, is my new website that has just gone live. Now, even though it's a new website, it's really just a rocket that has fueled all of the creations of my programs. And you know something? Every single program that I've ever created, whether it has been solely to transform your life, whether it has been to take your health and create it into billion-dollar energy and harness your greatest state, whether it has been to awaken your inner genius, which is what we're really talking about today in this particular series, or maybe it is to unleash your spiritual prosperity codes, right? This is where the work that I do, I see this as being the catalyst of unlocking all of these cornerstones. And there are 5 cornerstones that I have chosen. And you can bet your life on one thing. If I'm bringing you an offer or a service, or you're coming into my world to experience what I do, I can assure you that it is about making huge quantum leaps and massive change that is so fast it can happen beyond anything you even possibly imagined, right? And it can also, you can bet your life that it will be based on one of the 5 pillars of what I have been teaching, training, and transforming for now 16 years, which is master key number 1, your $1 billion health and energy. You see, it doesn't get better than that. And your body is really your thermometer. Your body is really that element that is there gifting you, saying to you, I'm feeling constricted. You might be feeling constricted here. You may be manifesting, the way you feel. You might have a pain in your back. You may have sickness, or you may have emotional turmoil. It all comes back to the same thing. It is what is in your subconscious mind. Now, I have seen miracles happen purely and simply because people address where the manifestation began through the work that I do, and they're able to speak to it. They're able to ask questions like, what is this that I'm feeling? Whether it is emotional, physical, or spiritual pain. And what is it that I'm actually telling myself? Because that story is really what it is all about. And then here is the big 3rd question. When did I feel it? So, for example, if you're telling yourself a story that you're not good enough, I mean, that's very generalized, but you've heard it all before. You feel like you're not good enough to put yourself out there. You feel like you're not good enough. And you are you could be crippled in pain physically, or you could be crippled emotionally where you can't show up. Whether it is physical or emotional pain, here is the big cruncher. Are you ready for this? Your subconscious mind is blessing you with that pain to protect you from something that it perceives has already happened to you in your life, and it wants to protect you from it happening again. Now, you may not even know what this is. This could be a critical moment where you were deeply embarrassed by something that happened to you when you were a child. You heard something that was very hurtful from a teacher, from a parent. And so your subconscious, while you have forgotten at the conscious level, your subconscious mind is holding on to that, and it's going, I can't let you fail again. I can't let you go through that again. So it's actually giving you this pain to stop you from failing, or to stop you from what it perceives you're going to be trapped into. Now, this is really the undergirding story of all the 5 master keys. So that is master key 1. Master key 2. This is a big one. How are you wired with your relationships? I mean, I was just talking to my parents and saying how, I'd noticed something in my life, and this is something that really is what I am very good at perceiving, and that is patterns. And the chances are, if you have attracted something or someone into your life, right, then the chances are you're going to attract it again and again and again and again. Now, it's not all bad. Sometimes this can be for the greater good, for the good people that you connect with. But in this kind of conversation, I want to talk to you about the relationships that need recoding. And you might be going, well, Terri, I keep attracting this kind of relation in my love life. Now, it's it's quite ironic that the people that are very, very empowered and have a strength in a certain area of their life, which brings me back to the awakening your genius, that tends to become their strength as well as their weakness. Okay, so the person whom is very, very good with people, very compassionate, very loving, also attracts people who actually take advantage of that. They also might be in a situation where they are, ruthless in another way, because they are all for the way they feel in this area, but then in this area they're really bad. Like that, they might have really good friendship circles, but then really bad relationships over here with their colleagues or their peers. So really life is about relationships. And, I noticed a pattern that I have spent most of my life being married, right? And I have been married twice. And I worked it out. My first marriage with my 3 children went for 16 years. We had a big history prior to that, but I stayed married for 16 years. And the interesting part is that I'm in a different kind of a dimension in my life right now, where I feel like there is a calling on my life that has always been there, that was actually prophesied to me probably 18 years ago by a prophet in a church. And that was when I was going to be, I'd met Dr. Ian Messenger, as far as, how everything was, the absolute love of my life. And, as was my first husband as well, right? And, if it wasn't for Ian, I would never have found NLP, but I really didn't know whether I wanted to be married, because there was something deep, deep down in me that just felt that there was a calling, even though I hadn't, had the qualifications at the time. And I was so adamant that I wanted to make the right decision, because to me, marriage is a very, very sacred place and a very sacred space. And so I am a great believer that you don't just, marry anyone and then just frivolously go off and then get married again and again and again. But, we never plan anything in our life. We don't plan to get sick. We don't plan to have, bad things happen to us. And we know that in our lives, we are going to experience these things. These are a normal thing. So nobody ever is intentionally trying to sabotage their life or anybody else's. And that's actually an NLP presupposition, right? Everybody is always coming from the highest intention. So when I recognized that, this was a really important decision, there was a part of me that somehow knew that maybe I wasn't to get married again. But then I'm so glad I did, because that marriage went on to being a really, really productive marriage for, about a decade. And, after about the 10 years, there was just such a unity with our family, with my children. My children became to be very, very fond of Ian. And, there was just this incredible blessing for both of us. And he'd lost his late wife. So the fact is that for us to sort of be able to come together, I feel like it was almost like a soul contract. The universe had brought us together because it was like we were two souls and we were destined to meet each other. And, we sold the clinic back in 2017, and I had transformed so many people's lives. And, there was thousands of people's lives that I never got used to the idea that how miraculously it would happen. But it was one of those things that was it was always a miracle, and it will never stop being a miracle right here and now. And then when I entered into the online space, I couldn't believe it, because I thought to myself, something went through my mind of, well, I know that as we upgrade in our lives, we have to kind of hit certain obstacles. We have to hit certain situations where we can grow, because that is why we suffer. We suffer not so we can stay stagnant. We suffer not so we can just spiral, but we suffer so that we can learn and expand and grow and listen. And, seasons come and seasons go. And during this time of this new transition into the online space, that's when I got a little bit gritty over the fact of the niche word. And, why should I have to just say I'm only going to work with these people when I know I can help everyone? And as I became more spiritually, awakened, and I just kept growing and expanding, what I recognized is that everything was happening for me. And I was really, my avatar wasn't about a niche that I had to choose, like so many people may think, but it was actually about myself, who I was, and whether that was myself when I was a teenager, whether that was my 20-something-year-old self, my 30-something-year-old self, or whether it was my 40 or 50-year-old self, right? It was relevant to my path. And anyways, to kind of like just wrap this up and bring it into full circle, I believe that once we went into the online space, Ian and I began to grow apart. And, we have such an incredibly good relationship. And I feel that it's a relationship that will be bonded as far as friendship is forever. But sadly, we grew apart, and there were elements about us that we weren't, from our own mind, sort of saying to each other, this is not working, or, this is not good. So it wasn't a mental, conscious kind of a situation. It was an energetic and subconscious element that was coming into our sphere and showing us that the way that we were doing life together was no longer aligned. Now, am I telling you a sad story here? Well, maybe, but is it a sad story? I guess it's about the meaning that you give it, the meaning that I give it. But what was happening? What was actually happening to us on a spiritual and energetic level? Well, firstly, remember about everybody's always coming from a positive intention. Everything that I was doing when I was doing it with him, once upon a time was a huge blessing, but it literally would fall apart. I wouldn't be able to do events with him without so many things going wrong. Now, I have to take full responsibility for that. There were elements to where I was becoming blocked, and there were elements to where my energy levels was just, it was kind of like starting to stagnate. Now, that's my side of the story. Now, let's look at Ian's. So from where Ian is, it was his health. he suddenly went from being a person who, in a thriving life with myself, he was always diagnosed for as long as I've known him with diabetes, but he'd never done it. We were so, with the master key one being the $1 billion health and energy, we were so committed to that his body may have been diagnosed, but he was physically really, 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 really healthy. Now, as much as our minds might go, but we're the love of our lives, we've had this wonderful relationship for so many years, everything started to fall apart. And this is where a lot of people are not emotionally intelligent enough to understand this. But, as I say, life happens to us. And, I was thinking to myself, why is his health so bad? And I remember we ended up in the emergency ward with him last year. And I sat by his side and I was there for him. And I mean, we'd been having trouble. We'd been having problems for years before that. In fact, when we first moved into our current location, we moved in and it was horrific. It was a shocking move. It was really, really, really difficult. And we weren't seeing eye to eye. And this is about 2021. And I thought to myself, I can see that our marriage is no longer the way it once was. It's really falling apart. And, I was having I had a breakdown Christmas that year. And, after that breakdown, because I built myself up in a few short hours, yes, guys, I'm not joking. This is what I'm talking about, like the incredible resources. I spent a day, it was Christmas Day, and I spent the day literally doing breath work, trauma release, you name it, everything. But while his life's falling apart in his health, my life's falling apart in the way that I'm doing life, the way that I'm showing up, the way that I'm feeling, right? And, whether we were able to face it and say, this is just not working anymore. And, so sad, because it seemed so sad because we've got such a strong relationship and everybody knows us in our community as the two people that are very, very gifted. He's gifted with his hands. I'm gifted with this gift that God has given me through the work that I do. And, I hired a mentor in January 21. It was actually in the online space since 2017. It was the first year of making six figures for me. So I'd surpassed six figures, hired this coach, but it also put us back on track with the marriage. So, my philosophy to her, and I'm forever grateful, is that, you've helped my online business, but you've also helped me kind of mend the marriage again. But sadly, that only happened for a short while. Ian was still suffering with his health. I was still suffering after the fact that I'd let things kind of settle in. And so once I knew there were so many signs, there were so much more signs than this, that, our relationship had reached a different point in our lives. So this is what I had to do. It became so relevant that I felt called to go to Bali. And you may know that I went to Bali. I was developing my new website. I was feeling quite stagnant in so many ways. But once I got to Bali, in the first 2 weeks, I had began working with clients who'd come back to me. I had began training people in neuro-linguistic programming. I trained a lady over there. It changed her life absolutely miraculously. She was living in Bali herself. She had 100 balls up in the air. She didn't know whether she was going back to Australia. She didn't know whether she was going to the UK. She didn't know whether she was going to be with her husband. She didn't know whether she didn't know which way was up. She'd been living in this place, in this village where I was staying, for, something like, I think it was 3 months. And so she'd practically made it a home. She knew all the people in the place. And within 2 days of working with me, and I'm talking 1.5 hours per day, so that's 3 hours. Within 3 hours of working with me, she made a decision. She returned to Australia. She returned to her husband. She blew up the internet, going online and just really coming forth. But now my element is that while I was in Bali, everything started to blow up for me. I began to expand. I became the way that I really, really, truly was born to be. And then when I saw Ian and we'd be talking on the phone, I'd be seeing him getting better and better and better and better every single day. And I thought to myself, this is where the soul contract is. We've come together to serve one another and to be with each other, and for so many good reasons, just like my initial husband, and not one of them will I ever, ever, ever regret. And the thing to me is that I, for the life of me, will never understand how two people that fall in love with each other and truly, truly love one another from the bottom of their heart can turn around one day and say it's over and then totally tear each other apart. So it's like the love turns to hate. I suppose they're both passions, right? And I just want to let you know that this is something that's been very, very difficult for both of us, because we know at this level but we've got such a great marriage. We've had a great marriage together. But this is where energy had simply gone into two different directions. And what was happening is it starts to turn it can turn beautiful people into sabotaging people. It's when you're not vibing at the right vibration. If you are, I say that the way you do life, this was another earlier mentor, the way you do one thing in life is the way you do everything in life. So if your life is really impacted, it might be in your job, it might be in a relationship, it might be in something relevant, and I haven't even gone through the 5 keys yet, but I'll just move through them very quickly and come back and do a full circle and wind down this conversation. So, I made a decision in my first marriage. I would have the most perfect, imperfect separation, and I would move forward. And then I remarried, and I had 16 years with my first husband. I've now had 16 years with my second. I have no intentions, and I'm not going to speak for Ian, but I have no intentions of moving on, because my calling, my service is to the world. I feel, and I'm going to go back to the prophecy when I asked in the church, the lady that I said, should I marry again? And she raised her hand up in the air and she put her hand in front of her eyes like she saw this huge light, and she said, you just have to be very careful because you've got a huge calling on your life. And I understand that everything that came together for a reason. And while I was in Bali, I had a million, and I'm exaggerating, of course, guys, but I had so many downloads. I had so many transmissions, and this is the space that I come back to. And now I'm going to come back and do a full circle with number 3. Master key number 3 is your spiritual prosperity codes. If you are not valuing yourself, if you are not valuing your soul, if you're not valuing your work, then you are going to find that even if you are making a lot of money, it's going to slip through your fingers. And this is another element that began to happen for both Ian and I. And I won't go into that. That's a very, very long story. But it was a very much a spiritual situation, and it was very painful. And for two people that had good money coming in, that can create such epic wealth, to have your health, master key number 1, really jeopardized, have your relationships with the world and what you're doing jeopardized, to have your money jeopardized. Those 3 master keys are really that they are the main cornerstones, that they are the landmarks: your health, your relationships, and your spiritual prosperity. And then that brings me to coming to awakening your genius. So this is where experiential coaching comes into play. And I'm going to say to you that I am more than an experiential coach. Yes, I have experienced trauma. I've experienced breakdowns in my relationships and all of the other elements. But I can tell you right now that the coaching that I bring that can unleash your trauma and can create a situation where you can get through anything. You can quantum leap into actually recovering from something, whether it is a physical, emotional, or spiritual situation, so fast. And this is, thank you, God, what I do. And that is world-class coaching. Yes, I'm an experiential coach. Yes, I can move and shape people that are beyond what I do, beyond my field. So they might be in a musician field, or they might be in an athletic field. However, I choose that I am really empowering leaders that have got the same mission to change the world. And with their mission, they understand that their genius zone is actually their weakness. It's the experiential side that they have learned from, healed, transmuted, alchemized, and now they have brought it into their power, their glory. Your story becomes your glory. Your pain becomes your power. So this is where I'm going to put down into a link here that I am opening a program, and I'm going to tell you straight up, it's only 333 Australian dollars, and it's jam-packed, filled with a library that is absolutely incredible. Plus, I will be teaching you live. So not only will you have a full library, but I will be teaching you live on this Awakening Your Genius. Now, at 333, here's the other thing. Let's go back to my experience in Bali and the 1 million downloads I had. I knew that every single element of every key that I teach and every transformation that I bring, whether that is a transformation so that a person can exponentially break through and move to the next level, or they may have breakthroughs that they want to get to, but they've done a lot of work, they're already, empowered coaches. I also have a celebrity package. The celebrity packages with my Bali retreats is about imparting how they can also run the same similar model as I am, and how to set up your absolute world-class modality, how to create your absolute genius zone. So what I'm doing is, with Awaken Your Genius, you can purchase it now. You can get instant access. Then you can actually have me that you're going to be in real time, up close, personal coaching with, as we then rise your zone of genius. And there will be the masterclasses that are going to start, and I'm rotating this all the time. So whenever you're hearing this, if you decide that you want to purchase a program that's going to open up for this specific one, Awaken Your Genius, the link is in there, and you will get a live mastermind class, because all my mastermind classes are based on the same principle, which is neuro-linguistic programming, clinical hypnosis, incredible, powerful meditation, and my quantum channeling. Now, you might be going, what is quantum channeling? Well, let me get to the fifth master key and then round up this conversation so that I can then tell you where I'm up to with Ian. So if you want to hear about that, stay to the end. I'm nearly there. So now the fifth master key is launching your legacy. Now, there's a couple of meanings around this. Legacy means that you stand to be the person that is making that stand, that you're going to break all of the patterns that have been in your family. You're going to break the ties. You're going to release it. You're going to let it go, right? And then what's going to happen is you're going to be the one who collapses the ingrown, imprinted negative patterns that have happened in your life, and you're going to be the legacy that breaks it. You're going to break it, and you're going to leave that legacy as it goes forward for generations and generations, but you're also going to be healing past generations, even those who have already moved on in this world. Very powerful work. And the other part of the legacy is that many of these people actually want to become iconic in their field. And this is where the iconic element, whether it is you becoming an iconic coach, you becoming an iconic leader, you becoming an iconic teacher, but it is about the fact that you want to be iconic. You don't want to just be mediocre. You don't want to just live a quiet life. And I respect there's lots of people out there, so this is not for everyone. The legacy leader knows they want to make an impact. They want to stand in their space. They want to put the flag into the ground, and they want to say, hey, this is my legacy and this is what I'm doing. So that legacy is completely between you and your soul and yourself. So what's next? Here's the thing. So firstly, please subscribe to my podcast and please leave a review. That would be amazing. And it will also gift someone that may really, really, really need to hear this message. Now, I haven't got through this entire situation in the marriage with Dr. Ian and myself right now. We are what you call in transition, right? But what we are both doing is we are seeking to come together. We both had a very intense, powerful session yesterday, and where I had a session with him to look at what is going on in his world. I mean, he is healthier when I am not around currently. I am healthier when I am in my own space. So we want to be able to generate a situation where we acknowledge this and we can say that we've had a very, very special love, and we still love each other. But now it's time for us to become individualized. Now, I can't speak for him and whether one day he might choose that he wants to move on. But my love is the fact my family and him, I love my family and him. That's first and foremost. But my love of where I am putting my sole focus is into the work that I'm doing in this world. And I want to close on this, that when I was in Bali, I had so many downloads. And one of them was when I was stuck in a traffic jam and I had a very clear message to say, go this way. And I knew I had to get out of the car and I had to follow that voice and that lead. And what I had landed was an opportunity that opened up for myself and all my clients. So everything I'm talking about, the 5 master keys, the awaken your genius, it doesn't matter what you do. If you decide you want to work with me, I am going to secure your investment. Mind you, Awaken Your Genius is only $333. Guys, if you don't feel like your life really opened up and changed, I'll give you your money back, okay? I don't have a problem with that. So click the link to get that program. You'll also get up close work with me, and we will get in touch with you because it'll come through as soon as you purchase, right? So as a public figure, I am honoring that, and I am saying to you that that is what we are doing. I'm putting my word to this. And what I'm also saying is that the element of what you've invested in will go as a deposit if you shall decide to come on to any of my retreats. Now, this is what I'm now going to close with. My retreats are going to be ongoing. They're going to be running as group retreats. They're going to be running as celebrity packages. That means for people who want to, I'm only dealing with the women for the celebrity because it's up close and personal. For the groups, it's for both men and women. Sorry, no children allowed, although children can come onto the retreat if you are happy to have a nanny, which is easily arranged in Tropical Paradise where we are going. So you may say, no, I'm not interested in securing the investment towards a place in Tropical Paradise. Well, if it happens to be that I do that in a different country or even here in Australia, you are able to secure that investment towards anything that you do. So that is my really special offer for this show. And this has been a really transparent, vulnerable, up close and personal podcast where you are now going to be watching with what's going to happen in the lives of Dr. Ian and I as we transition to the next level and we do life differently. We choose to go about what we are energetically called to do without doing what the rest of the world does. And that is something now that I know that all eyes are going to be on us for that. And I'm stating this as my declaration. And I'm giving you so much love. And remember, you can awaken your inner genius. And the Awaken Your Inner Genius is a transformative program. It's not just about awakening your genius. It's just that is going to come full circle. And that is my experience. So I'm sending you so much love. Mwah. See you soon, guys. Bye for now. Ciao. Thank you for joining us on another empowering episode of our show where we have explored through this various topic along with all the exciting new topics that we bring every week to enhance your personal mastery of excellence. Now, I'd love you to do me a favor. In fact, be part of the Legacy 1 million that I have in the vision for 2028. If you know someone who really would benefit from this recording, from this episode, please share it with them. And when you subscribe, you get notified every week of our episode as soon as it drops. So let's do that legacy thing. Let's share, let's care, let's enrich. And I look forward to bringing you another week of the most enriching content. So until next time, stay inspired, stay awesome, and keep on mastering your excellence.